We go now to what is the big story of the day and welcome our Kiwi colleague, New Zealand project host Kanoa Lloyd, who's on the ground in Whakatane, where she's been speaking to those affected by yesterday's disaster. Kanoa, obviously it's been a really tough day there.
Yeah, an incredibly tough day, a really hard day on a small community that's sort of famous here in New Zealand for being a place to relax, to get together with friends and family over summer. White Island, Whakaari, this volcano, is really central to the culture of this place. There's a sign on the way into Whakatane that says, "Welcome to Whakatane, gateway to White Island." Earlier today, that gateway to White Island part of the sign was pulled down. I've heard from people that working on those tours out there, that's the cool place to be, that's where you want to be, that's the dream job. But after the eruption, something has irrevocably changed here. There's a lot of grief, there's a lot of anger, and a lot of people asking why this tragedy happened.
Well, Kano, we'll cross back to you in just a moment, but first we'll see what's happening right now. The death toll currently stands at 5. 3 of those are believed to be Australian. Another 8 Australians are missing, presumed dead. 31 people are being treated in hospital. 13 of those are Aussies.
It was like I've seen the Chernobyl miniseries, and there was just everything was just blanketed in ash.
I want to acknowledge the courageous decision made by first responders and those pilots who in the immediate rescue effort made an incredibly brave decision under extraordinarily dangerous circumstances in an attempt to get people out.
In the back of our mind, we could see a massive plume coming from the island.
Screaming, yeah.
Crying.
Just
everyone
asking for help. Everybody in the boat tried to help them.
Everyone just take all of the jackets, all of the tops,
Shirt.
and just give to them to try to make everyone warm.
Warm as possible.
And when we didn't have more clothes, we just tried to hug those ones that we could hug, that we could touch.
There is no limit to New Zealand's capacity to mobilise, to respond, to care and embrace those impacted by tragedy. We are a nation full of ordinary people who do extraordinary things.
From rescue effort to recovery mission.
We do not believe anybody else has survived that explosion.
It is now clear that there were 2 groups on the island, those who were able to be evacuated and those who were close to the eruption.
We could detect no signs of life.
Today, the first victim of yesterday's volcano eruption was named as Hayden Marshall Inman, a tour guide from Whakatane.
He was a guy that would do anything for anyone. He will be the last man standing in any situation. He had the biggest heart, so he looked after everyone first before himself.
Authorities now working to identify those still unaccounted for.
But I fear there is worse news to come over the course of perhaps today or over the next few days.
Among the long list of missing Aussies, an entire Adelaide family, Gavin Dallow, his wife Lisa, and her 15-year-old daughter Zoe Hosking.
Oh, well, we're all clinging around each other at the moment and just hoping for the best. That every time the phone goes, everybody jumps and hopes that there's some sort of news.
Sydney-siders Anthony and Christine Langford and their 2 kids, Jessie and Winona, also missing.
It is such a horrible feeling. You know, it's just like there's a pit at the bottom of your stomach and it won't go away because, you know, there's no answers yet.
But with a 50% chance of another eruption in the next 24 hours and the delicate recovery mission still underway, the gut-wrenching wait isn't over yet.
To those who have lost or are missing family and friends, we share in your unfathomable grief at this moment in time and in your sorrow.
And just before we head back to New Zealand, we're now hearing that the Adelaide woman we just saw in that package, Lisa Dallow, has been found alive in New Zealand. She is critically injured and in hospital. We'll go back now to Kanoa in Whakatane. Kanoa, what's the latest on the recovery effort there?
Yeah, well, there are a lot of people, police, military, search and rescue, local heroes like the part-time pilot who was building, dropped tools and got in his helicopter to go out to the volcano just after the eruption, who are absolutely chomping at the bit to get out there and get those bodies home. But there are a lot of considerations. It's a really dangerous place. After the eruption, there's a thick cloud, a blanket of ash over everything, and that means that even helicopters that were attempting to land wouldn't necessarily know that what they were going into. Also things to consider like sulfuric fumes, which can burn the skin and burn the lungs. In fact, I just heard from one tourist that it's pretty typical to be given a sweet or a lolly to suck on, which helps combat those sulfuric fumes in the throat, and that's day to day, so you can imagine what things are like following the eruption.
So, Carnell, with all that said, do we have any idea, any estimations of when they may be able to get to the island?
We've been asking that question a lot. I get the sense that officials here are hesitant to make promises that they can't keep because it's a recovery operation and they don't believe there's any chance of rescuing people at this stage. I think the safety of their personnel is paramount, and it does mean, sadly, for families back here waiting for news that patience is going to be required to make sure it's safe.
So we know that there's a lot of unknowns, Carnell, but how are the injured at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, we've been hearing about some pretty shocking injuries. I met a Brazilian couple who have actually been based out of Sydney for the last 12 months or so. They came to New Zealand on their dream holiday. White Island was at the top of their bucket list, and they were on that boat that turned around, was about 10 minutes off the island and turned around and went back to rescue people. In the end, that was the only rescue effort that was made. Anybody that could have come back from the island came back with them, and the things that they described to me were burns, were blisters, burns mainly to people's faces and to their hands, and people wearing shorts to their legs. Pretty grim and shocking stuff, but the thing that stuck out to them, I think, was the shock and the panic that set in amongst those that had survived the blast. Really trying times for people thrown into that situation, and pretty shocking injuries.
Kanoa, thank you so much for that update. Do hang around though, we'll check back with you later in the show if that's okay.